You have clicked the Pixel Record podcast, programmed by KanOfSoda. Sit back, chillax, and enjoy the show.
Hey guys, it's KanOfSoda. Welcome back to another Pixel Record podcast. Now, if you're wondering, no, I don't have anyone with me right now. I'm actually alone for this podcast episode. It's crazy because it's been such a long time since I've actually done a solo podcast episode. The only times I've done it were like the very first episode and the third episode. It's crazy since my first episode came out on like October 15, 2019, and at the time of recording this, which is September 27, 2020, it's almost a year. That's crazy. I hope I remember to do some kind of 1 year anniversary podcast session. That'd be so cool. Well, episode, but you get what I mean. Anyway, how are you guys doing today? Well, mine was pretty great. I just had a hot dog for lunch and it was super good. I like to, whenever I cook hot dogs, I like to heat them up as much as I can. So when it looks burnt, I don't know, I just want to make it as heated up as possible because eating raw or cold meat is very dangerous if you ask me. And yeah, speaking of, I do remember one time when I was trying to cook some chicken on my own. I didn't cook it well enough, and yeah, it tasted pretty bad. I did realize the problem, so then the next time I cooked it well, and yeah, it was pretty gross considering you shouldn't eat raw meat. And it disgusts me thinking about it. I mean, I'm not as much of a cooker. The best I can cook is, maybe put a pizza in the oven, heat up some hot dogs, or maybe burgers. I don't think I've attempted cooking a burger before. I can cook some noodles. Not those ramen noodles in those cups, but those noodles in those packages you get from Oriental Marts. Those are pretty good. I like to eat those sometimes. I'm pretty good at cooking them on my own. I like to add a little extra salt to add a little bit more flavor. Doesn't get too salty though, it tastes pretty fine. Okay, so today, what I have for topics today is Fantastic Beasts 3. I'm pretty excited for what's gonna happen in the future. Although I totally get why people have concerns considering the Johnny Depp allegations, also with Ezra Miller, and what J.K. Rowling has been saying recently. As much as I don't like her transphobic stuff, I do still love Harry Potter. Even Daniel Radcliffe disagrees with it. Yes, Harry Potter himself. And I saw this news article recently, I'm not sure if it's true, but reportedly, Daniel Radcliffe said he would love to reprise his role as Harry Potter someday, but only if J.K. Rowling is involved. He wasn't the only one that was against her ideas. I know several other Harry Potter actors like Emma Watson, of course, since she's an activist, and I don't want to mispronounce her last name, but the girl who played Cho Chang. And I think one person was like, Dan should be grateful because JK created his career. Without her, he wouldn't be where he is today. Yeah, I get it, but I mean, Dan has a right to disagree with her, even if he is Harry Potter himself. Anyway, back to Fantastic Beasts 3. Oh, and about Johnny Depp. I know Johnny Depp is innocent, and I think that Ezra Miller video, I think they were just playing around, so it should be good. And I guess I get why people don't like Crimes of Grindelwald, because of like the plot, but even so, I still enjoyed it. If you don't like it, that's completely fine. Just stay quiet and stay in your lane. I personally enjoy both Fantastic Beasts and Harry Potter. I grew up with Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter. I won't stop loving it. And I can't wait to see Fantastic Beasts expand more on the franchise. So, I followed the Fantastic Beasts subreddit, and from what I saw, apparently they've recently resumed filming, but are taking extra precautions because of COVID. I know, according to what Jude Law said, they had like everything prepared in March, but on the day they were supposed to film, the world went onto lockdown, which is pretty crazy. And also, in that interview where he said that recently, I like how he has a beard with little white hairs, and apparently it's natural, and I hope he keeps it. He should keep it. It fits his Dumbledore look. Oh yeah, speaking about Dumbledore hair, another thing that someone pointed out in this subreddit was Ezra Miller's hair from the DC fandom. It's quite long, and someone's like, I really like his hair look. I think it fits his Dumbledore aesthetic. And they're like, I'm not sure if it's going to be for Fantastic Beasts or it's just quarantine side effects, but it looks so cool. It'd be cool if he kept it for the third franchise and beyond. I really like how they're going to expand more on Dumbledore's story. What I really hope is that they have a flashback scene sometime in the series where it shows Dumbledore, Grindelwald, and Aberforth are having their three-way duel, and where Ariana accidentally gets killed. I would like to see a flashback scene of that, or maybe a flashback scene from to that summer. Overall, I think it's interesting how they're expanding Dumbledore's story, as I said before, and delving more into the wizarding world and more about Grindelwald, because also, I have to admit it, but I think Grindelwald is better than Voldemort. And yes, I know Voldemort used Horcruxes, and he was a whole lot more of a killer than Grindelwald, but I just liked Grindelwald's motivation. Grindelwald wanted to take over the world because he felt like wizards were oppressed by muggles, and he didn't want the wizards to feel like hiding in fear, so he wanted wizards to feel free. His goal was great, but his motives, nope. I don't know why Voldemort wanted to take over, I just know that he saw prophecy that either Harry or Neville was gonna defeat him, so he was just born up plain evil most of his life, while as Grindelwald has a bit of good and some evil, so personally, I like Grindelwald better than Voldemort, even if I grew up with the Harry Potter franchise, and also, Voldemort lived up to his 70s or so with Horcruxes, and while as Grindelwald didn't use Horcruxes and lived a whole lot longer than him. So, I guess you can say that his cheat codes didn't work. Oh yeah, another thing I saw on the subreddit, there are people who have theories on who's gonna die. Some people think that Theseus and or Credence will die. I definitely think that Credence is going to die, considering what's going on with him. I wonder what's going to happen. Well, obviously he's not going to kill Dumbledore because, I mean, he's in Harry Potter, and I do kind of think Theseus is going to die. What I'd like to see is maybe Theseus sacrificing himself. I think that'd be pretty cool since he's a very gifted orator. So, what do you think? Well, I know the people who are definitely not going to die is Dumbledore, obviously, Grindelwald, obviously, since he's in Deathly Hallows. He hasn't died till Deathly Hallows. Obviously, Newt, because he's actually alive as of 2017. I'm not sure if he's alive in 2020, but he was definitely still alive by the time of the Harry Potter timeline. And obviously, Nagini. And oh yeah, and definitely Tina is going to survive as well, because I know Newt and Tina, eventually they have a kid, and their grandkid eventually marries Luna Lovegood, which is interesting. I wonder if Queenie and Jacob is gonna die. Obviously, by the time of Harry Potter, it's very likely that Jacob will die since he is a muggle, and muggles don't live as long as wizards, so... And apparently, according to what I saw on the wiki, there's this American Quidditch player named Quentin Kowalski. Yeah, I know, right? His last name and Quentin sounds like a masculine version of Queenie, so... Apparently he was born the 1970s, which was just way too far because at that time Jacob will have to be in the 70s. Maybe that's their grandson. Maybe they have a kid someday. I believe that could be the case. I wonder when Queenie's gonna have her redemption arc. I think it's definitely gonna happen sometime in the series. I know the biggest complaints of Crimes of Grindelwald was Queenie was out of character because in the first movie she was very sweet, quiet, and sweet. And in the second movie, she was kind of struggling, complaining. I guess I get it, but once you think about it, it kind of makes sense. We all know the Queen is a mind reader, and she always takes the day off from work. Not because she's sick, but if you think about it, while mind reading sounds great, it's probably not that great. Because, I mean, there are all these mind readings everywhere, and that could be a huge distraction. I do remember in Stargirl when Henry was discovering his powers, all the thoughts going on in everyone's heads was extremely distracting for him and he absolutely hated it. He did not know how to control it, so that's what was happening for Queenie. She wanted to be like everyone else, and to her it seemed like Jacob understood her. While she was close with Tina, I don't think Tina really understood her struggles. That came out weird, but oh well. So she just wanted to have a normal life like everyone else. While mind reading was great, she did not like how it distracted her, is what I'm saying. So, and then there's Grindelwald, whose idea is to have everyone all the wizards free of what they want to do, so it sounds great in Queenie's mind since she wants to marry Jacob and have a normal life like everyone else. So it greatly explains why she joined him. Also, she really didn't have much of a role in the first movie. We didn't really get much of her, so she was like pretty quiet. In that movie, we only saw one side of her. It's like when you first meet someone, they're like pretty quiet and normal at first, but then once you get to know them, you get to see more of them and see their flaws and stuff. As I said before, I do believe she will get a redemption arc. And I think that's going to be interesting in the next few movies if she somehow comes across Tina again. I wonder how they're going to react to each other. Are they going to duel? Tina's gonna be like, Queenie, how could you do this? And Queenie's like, I'm fighting for what's right. You're too scared. And then they're gonna fight each other. That'd be interesting. And Tina's like, I don't want to do this to you, Queenie. Or something like that. Also, another thing I heard about Fantastic Beasts 3 is they could be going to Brazil, I think. What I find interesting about Fantastic Beasts is that they're traveling all over the world. They're basically visiting other parts of the wizarding world. In Harry Potter, the closest we had to that was Goblet of Fire, and maybe going around the wizarding world in England in Deathly Hallows, especially Part 1. While in Fantastic Beasts, you get to visit other countries in their wizard communities, like America and France. I know in Goblet of Fire, the closest we had to France was the Beauxbatons and Fleur, but this time we're actually exploring a little deeper, though it wasn't much, but it was still interesting. It's like in Harry Potter, first you got these kids who are growing up, going to school, they're learning about what kind of magic they're gonna use in life, struggles and stuff, and then next in Fantastic Beasts, you got people who are already grown up, they have already spent their years in wizarding school, and they're out there using the skills they use at the outside world in the wizarding world. It's pretty interesting. Also, since the first two Fantastic Beasts was in the span of a few months, it's going to be pretty obvious that Fantastic Beasts 3 will be many, many years later, and they're out there fighting in the wars and stuff. So, they could be somewhere like maybe 1936, I'm guessing, and sometime later, obviously. I know that the entire franchise is going to run from 1926, which is when the first movie took place, to 1945, which is when Dumbledore defeats Grindelwald. And, not coincidentally, is when the Second World War ended. I also wonder who else from the Harry Potter franchise will appear in Fantastic Beasts. Obviously, we already have Dumbledore and Grindelwald. Yes, of course, Grindelwald was in Harry Potter, but he didn't really have a big role, so I like how they're giving him a big role. Oh, and also, we have Nicholas. I guess Nicholas Flamel will count. I know he was mentioned in Sorcerer's or Philosopher's Stone, depending on where you come from. But in the first Harry Potter book, we didn't really have an appearance from him, but in Fantastic Beasts we do, which I think is interesting. Also, fun fact, if you look in Crimes of Grindelwald closely, where Flamel's in his house, you can also see a glimpse of a famous stone we see in the first book, which I think is really awesome. I love the throwbacks and the Harry Potter Easter eggs. Anyway, what was I talking about? Ooh, characters that could appear. Some possible characters could be Slughorn, Hagrid, or Tom Riddle, or maybe other unseen characters, which is interesting. Now we know Tom Riddle attended Hogwarts in maybe sometime around the late 30s or the 40s, and of course there's the opening of the Chamber of Secrets, and of course Slughorn taught Tom Riddle at around that time, and Hagrid was also at that time, and he got expelled for being falsely accused of opening the chamber, and I think it'd be interesting to see them, even though it's possible they probably won't have a big role. But even so, I would love to see at least a slight appearance. I do hope Slughorn appears. I do believe he will appear since, as we saw in Half-Blood Prince, they're very old friends. Old acquaintances, per se. Also, there is McGonagall, which is weird. Yes, I know, I get it, it's pretty weird how she appeared in Crimes of Grindelwald when it said somewhere that she was born in 1930-something, somewhere in the 1930s, when the movie takes place in 1927, and then there's the Lita flashback, which takes place in sometime in the early 1910s. Maybe she was born earlier, a whole lot earlier. maybe in the late 1800s, maybe the 1930s. Birth date was wrong. I'm absolutely not sure. I mean, I did have the same reaction you guys had when she appeared there, but I mean, oh well. I try not to look into this sort of stuff. I don't think it really affects the plot. So I get it, you guys have a right to be angry about it. As honestly, I don't think it bothers me as much as it did anymore. And also the Credence being a Dumbledore, I guess I can see why people were mad about that, because he's his brother and the timeline doesn't fit. Credence was born in 1901, and Dumbledore's parents were separated before then. What if he's not actually a brother? Maybe Grindelwald just meant alleged relative. Because I mean, there's no way it would be his brother. Maybe Credence is actually Dumbledore's cousin. And you know, since they're related, they have the same last name. That's why he technically said brother, because they're of the same bloodline. If you get what I'm saying. Or maybe Grindelwald is lying to get Credence to kill Dumbledore. Or he actually is a Dumbledore. I mostly believe he is, but just a cousin, because as Newt said, Obscurials are known to not live past the age of 10. And Ariana, she died at 14 years old. And there's a theory that she's an Obscurus. She was an Obscurus, considering what happened and how Aberforth described it. Obscurus are usually known to not survive past 10, and Ariana Credence, they definitely lived past 10, even as an Obscurus. And Credence is a very strong Obscurus, so I think it's possible. Also, I just wanted to point this out, which is really cool. So, in Crimes of Grindelwald, Dumbledore tells the story about his great-grandfather.
There's a story in my family that a phoenix will come to any Dumbledore in desperate need. They say my great-grandfather had one, and that it took flight when he died, never to return.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Also, if you notice in Half-Blood Prince's scene after, well, not too long after Dumbledore dies, at the end of Half-Blood Prince, where Harry, Ron, and Hermione are at the astronomy tower and look into the distance, you see Fawkes the Phoenix flying away, and when Dumbledore said, and then it took flight when he died, never to return, you see Fawkes flying off into distance. Am I the only one that notices this? That is so cool. So maybe Dumbledore's great-grandfather was a wise man, so maybe Dumbledore learns to live up to his great-grandfather's maybe name, if you get what I'm saying. Well, obviously we already know that Dumbledore becomes the wise old man as we see in Harry Potter, but I mean, you get what I'm saying, right? Maybe his great-grandfather was wise, so I think that would be cool to see Dumbledore evolve in the Fantastic Beasts franchise to the wise old man that we know today, even though he didn't say any much to Harry. Another thing I want to see is, okay, so about Nagini. From what we know, she used to be a human, but since she's a maledictus, she turns into a snake, and we know from the Harry Potter series that at one point she does permanently turn to a snake and follows Voldemort for the rest of her life. Well, what if in the last Fantastic Beasts movie, I really want the ending scene to be maybe Nagini is now permanently a snake, she's slithering off somewhere, and then she meets Tom Riddle and they speak Parseltongue together. He's on his way to becoming a dark wizard, and then it ends right there. I think that would be so cool. It kind of sets up Voldemort, even though we already know what becomes of him, but that would be pretty cool. I wonder if they're going to use the same actor from Chamber of Secrets, or if they're going to use a different one. I think the one from Chamber of Secrets is currently in his 40s. Let me look it up. Yeah, he's 41 years old, and he still looks good to play a teenage Voldemort. That doesn't look too bad. I also wonder what's gonna happen to the other Fantastic Beasts characters, like Yusuf Kama, Vinda Rosier. Sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Abernathy. Ooh, I'm pretty interested in what will happen to him. I think it's interesting how they made a minor character like him a bad guy on Grindelwald's side. I think that's really cool. I really hope we get to see more of him. Also, since he already knows Queenie, I think it would be interesting to see their interactions and see how they would get along now. Would they get along well or not so well? I think that'd be pretty cool to see. Also, remember in Fantastic Beasts when he was Dumbledore was teaching defense against dark arts in the present day scene. And remember that McLaggen kid, you know, like Cormac McLaggen? Another thing I think that would be pretty cool would be if we saw other people other students who, or maybe other wizards who could be related to the Harry Potter characters. If you see in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, that opening scene in newspapers, if you look closely, you can see, I won't mispronounce the name, Flemmont Potter, Harry Potter's grandfather, who made this really cool wizard hair product. You can actually slightly see him in one of the newspapers, which I think is pretty interesting. I like how they put a few Harry Potter Easter eggs here and there. As I said before, I like to see other people who are related to characters from Harry Potter, besides what we've kind of seen already. Maybe we could see a Malfoy or a Weasley, or maybe someone else. I think that'd be cool. Or how about a Black or a Lestrange? Well, we already seen a Lestrange Lita. But maybe we could see others. And since we're talking about Harry Potter, I guess we can make the podcast topic for today about Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts, and the Wizarding World in general, because I really love the franchise. I've loved it since I was a kid, so the way I found about it was kind of interesting. So when I first heard about it, I think I saw a cover of it. It was the Deathly Hallows book. It was that old orange cover. I saw it when I was it was like 2009. At first, I thought it was some kind of like scary horror, satanic adult ritual stuff, and I was pretty too scared to find out what it was. I thought it was not for kids. But then I watched Sorcerer's Stone and I was like, oh, this is about a little kid. I think about a little boy who's not much older than me. I found about it in like 2009, so I was like 8 years old at the time. Or maybe 2010, but anyway. I watched it. It was pretty cool. I have so much memories from 3rd grade just watching Harry Potter. I know, back then, the latest movie that was out was Half-Blood Prince. And you know, the Deathly Hallows films haven't come out yet, so I actually watched the films in the movie theaters. And it was quite an experience. It was pretty cool getting to see the theater experience, you know? Also, I have to admit, I used to dislike Draco for a long time at that point until I watched Deathly Hallows Part 2, where Harry saved Draco, and my dad said it was at that point where Draco became a nicer guy to be a better person. And I don't think Draco got a redemption arc, but I personally like to pretend he did, and he gets along with Harry now. That's why I like to pretend, because I ship Drarry so much. Oh yeah. Me and Ashley ship it super hard. We like to just write fanfics about... Okay, so we like to write these Harry Potter one-shots on Wattpad, and our main theme is Harry and Draco are in love, or they're secretly in love, but they can't tell anyone about this, so they keep the relationship a secret. But Fred and George know about it, and they like to tease Harry about it sometimes. Harry's like, no, Draco, we're not in love. I don't like Draco. I hate him so much. Tries to pretend to hate Draco in public. But of course, I just ship it for fun. I don't ship it seriously. I don't actually wish they became a couple, but it would be kind. I guess it would have been cool. But yeah, I just ship it for fun. I mean, just because someone ships something doesn't mean they actually want it to be canon. Maybe they just ship it for fun. I mean, I don't have a problem with what you ship as long as it's not incest or pedophilia. Then I'm good. Also, I hate to say it, but My Immortal, oh my gosh. I thought it was so funny how they made Draco and Harry a couple. I do remember at one point I was like, no, put Draco back with Vampire, not with this random gothic vampire. And honestly, the love triangle between Draco, a vampire, and Ebony, I mean Enobi, was super odd. It was crazy. Also, what I find super funny is how me and Ashley have normalized saying Enobi instead of Ebony, since Tara always uses Enobi a lot in the parts where the spelling and grammar and stuff get a whole lot worse. I'm really surprised Raven hasn't fixed those Enobi misspellings. You moronic idiots! Voldemort shooted instantly. Enobi, I told you to kill Vampire. Thou have failed. And now I shall kill thou and Draco. No, no, please, we begged sadly as he took out his knife. Also, speaking of a knife, I do remember at one point when we were reading a fanfic, I love how Ashley pronounced it as, there was just one point where it was spelled Nif without the K and knife, and Ashley just pronounced it like Nif. It's so memeable, like, you have no idea. Ashley's probably the most memeable person I've ever met. What I mean by memeable is you can make a ton of memes out of that person. It's very beautiful. As Ashley would say, that's pretty wild. Oh god, if Ashley, if you're watching this right now, big oof. Oh my gosh, just now I was just looking back at the part where I searched up Tom Riddle's actor's name, and I just found out that him and the guy who played Oliver Wood, they recently did some kind of live stream in like April. Wow, it's 51 minutes? Dang, I'm probably gonna see it maybe later. Oh, this also reminds me of the time where Jason Isaacs and Tom Felton, the guys who played Lucius and Draco, they did some kind of Zoom meeting sometime back in March. I know Jason Isaacs posted on his YouTube channel, which is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool how they still keep in contact, even it's been such a long time. And I think it's pretty interesting how Tom calls Jason dad, even though at this point, Tom Felton is a grown man who's like 33 years old by now. Yes, his birthday was just a few days ago. That's crazy. And I guess it's hard to believe that he used to be this little kid and now he's a grown man like all the other Harry Potter actors. The kid actors, of course. I also know James and Oliver Phillips, the guys who played the Weasley twins, they also have this podcast called Double Trouble. I think it's pretty interesting. I also know they invited Bonnie Wright, the actress of Ginny Weasley, and also Tom Felton. Everyone knows, now we all know who that is, as I told you just now. I think it's interesting. I think they should get the other Weasleys as well. Ooh, they should also have one with Rupert Grint, and maybe another one with Dan. Or maybe another one with Emma. I think that would be pretty awesome. Or maybe get the whole Harry Potter cast together. Well, most of it. Though I doubt it would be possible, but it would still be awesome. Speak about a podcast of the Weasleys. I do know recently on Wattpad, me and Ashley have made a few one-shots of the Weasley twins making a podcast, and it was actually Ashley's idea. She actually did not know that the Phelps twins actually had a podcast, and I told her that. She was like, whoa, that's pretty wild. Well, obviously she didn't say that's wild, but I mean, it's typical of Ashley. She doesn't know how to respond. So she just says, that's pretty wild. I mean, so far, me and Ashley have done only 2 one-shots for that podcast, and I know for that one, it's basically in this situation, it's during Order of the Phoenix, and Umbridge has made everything as boring as possible at Hogwarts. So the Weasley twins decided to create a secret podcast to keep things entertaining. So they would basically talk about the drama, scandals, and the other stuff going on at the school. And so far, we have only done 2, one with Seamus and another one with Harry. I do want to make more sometime in the future, if we don't get lazy as we usually do. Well, I guess it's mostly me, but I'd like to read it out to you. I think it would be pretty cool. There's only 2, so it won't be much. Okay, I'm on Wattpad right now. The first one is The Rise of Homosexuality. So the guest star is Seamus Finnegan, his homosexuality. And also we also have the headcanon where Dean and Seamus are in love, since it's awesome. Friend George recently started a podcast mainly because a lot of the fun activities within Hogwarts were being banned. None of the professors knew about it, but most of the students did. Today, Fred and George are accompanied by a guest that has some tea to spill. Fred, Ayo's Papa and my Weezers is your boyfriend, George. And George, Fred. And I'm here with Seamus Finnegan, the explosive genius himself, Seamus. Hey lads, it's nice to be here. I've been listening to the past few episodes, and I feel like there needs to be some drama to line up our moods. Fred. Ah yes, especially since Hogwarts now is super boring now, George. Indeed, but I also heard this interesting rule. Want to hear it? Seamus. Sure, go ahead. George. So Umbridge, as always, came up with this rule where boys and girls should not be near each other, since they always tend to make out a lot. Yeah, you guys remember that scene? or boys and girls should be near each other. That's what I'm referring to. I know a lot of people have been making jokes out of it, or be like laughs and gay laughter. It's glorious. Seamus. It's like she forgot homosexuals exist. What an idiot. Fred. She may have made Hogwarts boring as hell, but at least she's heterophobic. Could that be the case? Seamus. Honestly, I think she just forgot like the idiot she is. It hasn't helped with all the PDA, I can say that much. George. Maybe she's one of those boomers who are like, all teenagers think about is sex nowadays. And boomers are used to heterosexuality back in the day. I mean, it's pretty, you know, it's accurate. In this version, basically, it seems like it takes place in a modern day. It's like a modern AU, because then stuff like TikTok, Minecraft, and Roblox are mentioned, and Club Penguin. And the use of the word boomer. And if you think about it, Umbridge is a boomer. Okay, let's go back to it. Seamus. Ew, don't say that. That H word, Fred. You mentioned that you've seen some PDA still. Is this part of the drama you want to talk about? Seamus. I guess so. Well, technically George brought up. I do know that this rule has made kids go making out if the teachers aren't looking, like the common rooms or in Forbidden Forest or other secretive places. I've run into plenty, and let me tell you, it was an unfortunate experience. Oh god, this reminds me of how one time I saw in Goblet Fire the lead scene. It was during the Yule Ball scene. Harry was just wandering around outside, and there was these students making out in the carriages. While Snape and Karkaroff were arguing, Snape caught the students making out in the carriages, and it was so funny. He yeeted them out of the carriage, and he took points from Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw, the houses that the kids were in. Honestly, I should tell Ashley about it. It's honestly the funniest thing ever. Snape may be very mean to students, but at least he keeps the place free of AIDS. Okay, let's go back to it. Where was I? George. We've seen that as well. I'm not sure how Umbridge didn't realize that the students would just break the rule. Fred. She definitely doesn't understand kids, lol. Seamus. Honestly, you can tell most of the professors know it's a dumb rule, but they can't do anything about it. Fred. We all know McGonagall doesn't approve of these changes. Remember when she was arguing with Umbridge out in the open? Seamus. Yes, that was hilarious. Dee and I were making fun of that for ages in the common room. George. Much respect for McGonagall. Here, have a biscuit. Oh yeah, remember that, guys? Where Harry was like to McGonagall. I yelled at her because she said that Voldemort was not back, and McGonagall was like, here, have a biscuit. Fred. So we've discussed this new rule. Would you like to discuss the drama now? Seamus. Of course, let's spill it all. Fred. So since we have more homosexual ships coming out of this new rule, me and George know about this tea-worthy secret. Seamus. I wonder if we're thinking about the same one. George. You'll see what we're talking about. Fred. So obviously we all know Harry Potter is at this point, and I guess Draco Malfoy. Seamus. Right. They're pretty well known and have been known to dislike each other. George. Or so we thought. Seamus. I mentioned earlier that a lot of students go out to hidden locations to go make out since they can't do it due to new rule. Well, I caught them going at it once. Fred and George were intrigued. Fred. Holy shit, what? George, mate, spill it. Seamus. Dean and I were also trying to find a secret location for obvious reasons. Anyway, we went to Forbidden Forest and we saw them making out by a tree. We were shook. Fred and George started laughing. Fred. Wow, OMG XD. This reminds me of that Slither girl Tara made this story about how she and Draco made out by a tree and Forbidden Forest and got caught by Dumbledore or whatever heck that was. You guys remember that from My Immortal? Oh my god. The most famous scene ever. Well, in this version, she's a regular Hogwarts student who imagined herself as Enobi and has all these fanfiction fantasies of the one we see in My Immortal, as you can tell. Yeah, so I basically added Tara into our one-shots, which is the most funniest thing I've ever did in the one-shots. George. It was a terrible story. At least Tara made Draco and Harry ex-boyfriends, lol. Seamus. Tara has so much odd and gothic fanfiction fantasy. It's so weird. Honestly, I don't want to go any further. I just don't feel like it, but honestly, it's just really funny. Also, another one we did is where friend George having a podcast Harry. Once they were talking about how Umbridge banned TikTok because she didn't like it. Fun fact, we actually wrote that one shot before Trump announced that he wanted to ban TikTok, so it was such a weird coincidence. And I feel like if Harry Potter did take place in modern day and it had Muggle technology, I feel like Umbridge would do that. And also, there was this one thing Harry talked about in the one shot where Parvati and Lavender were making a TikTok somewhere in the courtyard, and Umbridge banned it. She didn't like them using it because she said, "You need to use this time to study." Yeah, Umbridge really hates TikTok in our version. And also, here's the funny part. This part where Snape actually has a secret TikTok. There's one who is making a Gangnam Style video. It's I made that up. It's so funny. And Harry was like, Harry was like, "Oh my gosh, what a boomer. Who discovered it?" And apparently Ginny discovered it and actually made up this headcanon in a story where it went like, Ginny is really obsessive with TikTok. I think Harry's like, "I don't have a problem with people using TikTok, but dang, Umbridge takes it way too far when it comes to TikTok ban." To be honest though, even though me and Ashley's one-shots have crazy shit going on, at least it's not as terrible as My Immortal. Honestly, even though it has no plot at all and stuff you shouldn't be putting into fanfics like the pedophilia and the non-consensual stuff, it's honestly the most funniest thing I've ever read. All the other bad spellings makes it really funny. It's so funny. If you guys haven't, me and Asha made series of videos of reading the fanfic on my YouTube channel, so you guys should go check it out. It's so funny. It was pretty interesting. Prior to making those videos, I actually did not read My Immortal. I tried not to read it. So those reactions that you saw in the videos, those were my actual initial reactions. I know Ash has read a bit of it, but not all of it, so some reactions, she already knew what was going on, but mostly others were new reactions. Real reactions, I mean. Honestly, I don't think I'll ever be the same after reading My Immortal. Ooh, this reminds me, I do remember I was just searching up My Immortal stuff on Google Images. I do remember at one point I saw this fan art of Ebony talking with Delphine, who is actually Voldemort Bellatrix's daughter from Cursed Child. Yeah, it's weird. So I think Ebony said something, was like, I don't know what she said, but, and then Delphine said, "Hey, at least I'm canon." Honestly, I don't know where it is, but I need to find it somewhere, sometime. But it was so funny. What I think is interesting is how that fanfic has made a really huge impact. Like, what I mean is that people have created lots of fan art and edits. I've also seen cosplays, which is wild. Also, adaptations. I do remember one adaptation I saw was just a simple series. It was made all the way back in 2010. Except they never really finished it. I think the last part was at the part where Ebony stormed in on Snape's classroom and she was like, "Vampire, I can't believe you cheated on me with Draco," and then ran out. They never really finished it. It was made back in 2010, as I said. There's also My Immortal web series, which came out back in like 2013 and 14, which it looks like it has a decent budget. It looks like they put some effort into it. I don't think I've watched it. I watched like the first few minutes, but I think I'll probably binge watch it sometime. It doesn't follow the plot of the actual story, but someone has once said that it made Ebony a more likable character, and apparently Bellatrix in the web series too. Speaking of, I've always wondered why Bellatrix isn't in My Immortal, since she's probably one of the actual gothic people in Harry Potter. In the canon Harry Potter. The actual Harry Potter, since My Immortal does not follow the rules of the Harry Potter universe, which is crazy. Oh, this was one time I remember in the story where Ebony sent a telepathic message to Vampire and Draco telling them to destroy Snap. Oh my god. That is so Mary Sue of her. I swear. It still makes me laugh. A telepathic message. Wow. A telepathic message. I really want to make a montage of some of my favorite moments while reading My Immortal. I'll probably make this video once I'm done with the entire series. Ooh, I also know that there's this unofficial sequel. So me and Ashley have read the fanfic on Wattpad. It was supposed to be by someone undername of the same username that Tara used, except it's not actually Tara. The account is just made just for the sole purpose of posting anything about My Immortal, and that same account has posted an unofficial sequel, My Immortal 2 Bring Me to Life. It's apparently supposed to be an unofficial sequel, as I said, which I think we should read sometime. I really want to go around doing it, since honestly, the moments of reading My Immortal is so funny and hilarious. It's entertaining to me, both reading it and watching my initial reactions when I'm looking back at the video. Also, apparently, you know how Crab and Goyle are somehow in My Immortal? And they're for some reason related to Ron and Ginny, who in this case Diablo in Darkness. So apparently there's a lot of speculation that it's supposed to be Fred and George, which, fun fact, they are actually mentioned right at the end of the final chapter, which is crazy. And if that's the case, if Crab and Goyle are supposed to be Fred and George, and I have no idea how Tara managed to screw it up so badly. But then again, it's Tara. Her mind, it's insane. Also, speaking about Tara, I found this website where she was actually on Fiction Press as well, and her account is still there. And also, I went on her account quite recently, which I think is actually her, because so on Fiction Press, on her account, as I said, so the first part is where she wrote a biography about herself, saying, "Hey, I'm Tara, and you can check me out at my username on fanfiction.net, which is where she posted My Immortal." And in 2017, she actually posted some updates. The actual Tara herself, and it looks and the way she typed in 2017 is absolutely nothing like her absolutely gothic way she typed back in 2006, which is crazy. I really want to provide a link for it. I'll provide a link in the description so you guys can go see it. I don't know if it's her. It is alleged. If it is her, then that is insane. That means she has changed a lot since then. Also, I also found her DeviantArt as well by looking up her username on Google. By the way, her username is xxxbloodywrist666xxx. And I found her DeviantArt, and her biography said she was born in 1994. If that is the case, that means she was like 11 or 12 years old when she wrote My Immortal. Yeah, that's crazy. And this also indicates that if she's still alive today, that means she's currently 26 years old. That is insane. I always wonder what she's doing right now, especially Raven as well. I wonder how she thinks about the fact that My Immortal has become very popular, even if it's infamous. It's crazy. I really want to know what she's doing right now. I know a lot of authors have tried to come forward as the anonymous writer of My Immortal. Since the identity of the author is always unknown, it is allegedly Tara Gillespie. I think it might not be her real name. Some people have said that it was an inspiration from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm not entirely sure. But it could be the inspiration from that, since My Immortal is about a gothic vampire. Also, I've always wondered if the actors have found out about the fanfiction, especially Tom Felton. I really want to know how they reacted. I wonder if they actually know about the fanfic and what their reactions are, especially Tom and Dan. Oh god, I'm pretty sure if Tom Felton actually did read it, he probably got scarred. I wouldn't be surprised if he did know about it. Also, since Fantastic Beasts is now a thing, and there's Dumbledore and Grindelwald in their gay relationship, I wonder what Tara thinks about that. I wonder and how Dumbledore comes to Grindelwald dresses like, as she says, a prep, and Grindelwald is a gothic guy. I wonder if Tara decided one day she's going to write a My Immortal style fanfic of Fantastic Beasts. Oh my god, that would be insane. Another thing I thought would be really funny is what if the imagine if the characters, how would the characters react to My Immortal? I know it would be technically breaking the fourth wall, but imagine how crazy that would be. Especially the Fantastic Beasts characters and how they would react to Dumbledore. Albert Dumbledore. Yeah, that's wild, right? And it's insane how My Immortal, it does not follow the rules of Harry Potter world. It does not follow the plot, or it doesn't understand Harry Potter at all. Yet she somehow managed to predict that Harry was a Horcrux. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Also, I thought it was really funny when she said, I hope Draco and Harry fall in love, otherwise J.K. Rowling is a homophone. Well, you were kinda close, she's a transphobe. But try again. Anyway, I really don't have much to say at the moment. I really hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I did manage to do pretty well on my own for the first time in a long time, which I personally find surprising since I find podcasts more entertaining when there's more than one person, or more than two people, which makes it more entertaining since there's a lot of conversation going on when there's 3 people in a podcast at a time, or more. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Tune in for more, and I will see you later. Bye!